Hello, welcome back to Darksiders. In part 3, we'll be abusing our new power-ups, the wings and the air dash, to sequence break some larger sections than before. This first part is pretty normal, just take the blue orbs into the tunnel ahead, and if you get a large landing animation, you can cancel it with a jump into air dash. And watch out for the yellow guy. Normal dash past the zombie to line up your sword dash, and then 5 dashes back should put us right in the exit for the cave. The cave is a little bit tricky. You'll need to not only vary which direction you dash, but usually let go of left click every now and again so that you get a smooth dash down the slope like we mentioned in the last part. Once you're at the bottom, take the blue orb onto these rocks and then jump onto the next set of rocks. There's an invisible platform out in front of us here. It's pretty generous, but you still want to just kind of aim in the center of the leaves and the rocks. If you walk up to the left, you can gain some more height, so we can jump to the right, and then jump around the corner and make it onto the next platform. The next step is to abuse the respawn location to warp into the next map. If we're able to jump close to the ceiling, the game thinks we're in the choking grounds above us and will put us there if we fall into the lava. Walk to this glowing crystal, single jump on it, then double jump onto the rock spire. We want to aim a little bit to the right, just somewhere in this general area. And when we hit the lava, open up your Wrath menu and use the life potion on 2. We have to replace it with something else later, and this is a very reliable way to make sure it gets used. Anyway, as long as we end up close to the ceiling and get a little lucky, we'll end up appearing in choking grounds. If it doesn't work, you can try extending how long you're on the ceiling with the sword slash. It seems like in the War Mastered edition, if you have kind of a lower frame rate, you have to stay up there longer before it actually registers. Once you've spawned up top, we'll dash straight ahead into another cutscene. The bats to our left don't work for sword dashing, so we'll just use regular ones. During the cutscene, hold focus and forward right. We want to immediately lock onto a bat and sword dash around it. Use the minimap to line yourself up, and when you see the fountain, start heading back. We want to go just slightly to the right of it, but also dodging those cars. Then make your way down this street, and when you see the pile of rubble on the right here, and get the autosave icon, turn around and use the horn. The autosave icon is the maximum range of the horn. After this cutscene, we'll want to immediately pause. We'll be going out of bounds in the next section, but in order for it to load, we have to reload our autosave. When you reload the autosave, you can hold S to turn around immediately, and then sword dash backwards up the hill. There's a nook on our left that's going to be our next spot of interest. We want to make it into this house on the right, which we can use the focus mid-air dash in order to get the distance. The normal air dash loses height, but the focus mode changes the sideways and backwards dash so that they don't lose any height. So go ahead and climb up this cement slab on the right side. I always try to position myself on this like upside down Y, make sure I have enough height and good position for it. We'll be aiming for these 2 rocks. They're just the lowest parts of this rocky barrier, and then we'll be lining War up on one of 2 areas. So where the pipes go into the cliff here, you can put his like shoulder blade, or I kind of use just this branch and just get like the tip of his sword, tip of the top of his sword lined up on the right. Then you want to just hold focus, jump out to the right twice, jumping kinda quickly, and then dash once you are at the right height. It's not too tricky, but it takes a while to kind of find your own markings for where you want to stand and aim. And then you also want to be careful to just hit right and jump at the same time, otherwise you can just like unceremoniously fall down the edge. Luckily, if you fail, it's not too hard to just run back over and set it up again. Anyway, after that, we'll be taking the orange orb up to the 2nd floor and then grabbing this Armageddon blade piece. Next, we'll be jumping to the left here to this little edge and looking out towards this light post. There's an invisible wall going from here out towards it that we'll need to kind of use a delayed 2nd jump and wings to get around to make it onto this cliff. When you jump out, you want to face slightly left so you can tell when War starts moving normally and make it past the wall. And once you do that, just do a quick 180 and then get back onto the cliff. After that, just dash past the house onto this next cement platform. From here, we'll be jumping onto some invisible platforms out by the cliff. You can use these cement lines to make sure you're lined up straight, and then the dash trick from the prologue to make sure you're at the very edge of the platform. The timing on this jump is about the same as making it into the house from the cliff earlier. So what you want to do is just kind of jump, jump, dash, and you should find yourself landing in the middle of the air. If you are a little bit short or miss it otherwise, you'll generally be falling forever and need to reload your game. Once you make it in though, or once you make it on top though, just come down and start running into this cliff. When you see where his feet disappear, there's a consistent way to figure out where the floor will disappear so that you don't end up falling off here. So as soon as his feet fully disappear, you can do one jump forward, and then after you do the jump forward, we'll be jumping out towards that bridge. The textured part of the guardrail has a wall in front of it, so we'll be wanting to jump out towards the untextured part. And it's not a hard jump as long as you use that visual indicator of where to jump from. After that, dash to the right, and we'll be looking off the bridge directly behind the golem. So starting from here, we'll be out of bounds. And if you fall off this bridge or any other section, it requires a reload. So be prepared to just spend some time in this area. It is very beneficial though. It teaches you a lot about how out of bounds works in Darksiders. The first thing is that if a wall is solid from the inside, it's also solid from the outside. So any ceiling is generally just going to be a floor for us. The other thing is that the walls are only visible from one side, so you can see that there's obviously some ceiling texture here, but it's not appearing, and then there's some other invisible wall that actually is obstructing our view of the next room. If this room doesn't load, it just means you didn't reload your save after the golem, so just make sure you can see these bricks. And then once you have that, we'll just, from here, just jump onto the next room. Since it disappears completely, the thing you'll generally be doing out of bounds is navigating by your minimap. It's really accurate and you can just always trust it. The other thing we'll be seeing in here is loading zones. So the way loading zones work in this game is that you pass like a 2D trigger, 2D plane that is in a tunnel that'll load or unload the zones behind you. And as you walk through it, it's either visible by just rooms appearing or by the background changing. So in this case, as we walk to the right, we'll see the Shadow Realm clear up, and then as we walk past the load trigger here, we'll see the background turn black. We don't want that second one, so we'll actually just come back to the left until it gives us the normal background. We'll use either looking at the background or looking at the rooms throughout the run as we're out of bounds to know that we're loading the correct things and not accidentally loading extra. Now that we're back here next to where the background turns black, we want to just jump and dash over it. Since it is just like a small barrier that is just only partially extending throughout the level, we can just jump straight over it. From there, we'll just dash to the right. At some point, the floor kind of starts to give, and we'll just want to stop dashing there. Looking at the minimap, you can see that there's supposed to be some level over there, but we don't have anything. By skipping the section that turned the background black, it actually makes it so the next area didn't load, which is exactly what we want. So what we want to do is jump out towards this orange glowing section, and then double jump once we're like passing through it. And then when we have the wings out, there's going to be 3 spires to our right. We'll pass the middle one that's closest to us, and then land between the further back two. It's a pretty big platform, so as long as you just kind of have the correct timing and then follow how it looks, you shouldn't have too much trouble with it. And platform's pretty big, but I wouldn't test it. There's no real reason to be running around up here. So because we didn't load this next area, which you can see on the minimap, the tunnel is just completely open, letting us jump back in. It's a little bit deceptive though, because it looks like we could make it in right here, but there's invisible walls we just can't see from this side, so what you want to do is actually aim more towards the middle of the door. It's pretty easy just to jump and use your wings, and then make it in. And then if we walk forward, we hit another loading trigger that force loads the zone behind us. It's possible to sword dash this next section. I'll kind of show how it looks forward, since aiming off the enemies and making it into the stairs is a little bit difficult. The main thing we want to do here though is pick up the Vulgarum spawn location, or warp location. We'll need all of them for the end of the game, so it's important not to miss any of them along the way. A lot of early runs will be killed by forgetting one or more of the Vulgarum locations. Alright, so after we grab that, we'll just head back topside, and then head into the house that'll be on our right. If we get lucky, we can grab a zombie or a bat, and it'll set us up nicely for some sword dashing up the stairs. Alright, from here, just dash out and take the blue orbs over to the bridge, and then we'll be sword dashing to the right. There's ordinarily a really long cutscene and fight on this bridge, but the trigger for it works like kind of all the loading triggers and all of that. So it's just a big plane that extends across the entire level, but we found that it doesn't extend on the left side here, so we can actually jump around it. So I think it's somewhere right here where the sidewalk changes colors that it triggers, so you just want to kind of stay on the left side. Jump on this guardrail, and then we'll be jumping just kind of out and around, and then using wings to go back through the cracked area. It's pretty easy to get around, but if you mess it up and you try to reload your save, it takes you all the way back to choking grounds. After that, we'll just take these orbs over to the next building and do a little bit of some finicky platforming to skip one of the key doors. We can use these broken windows to jump up and over this wall and make it into the autoscroller. It's a little bit finicky, like I said. War likes to slide off, but there's a pretty consistent way to do it. So what you want to do is face perpendicular to this wall, jump and make it onto the lowest platform, and then jump and strafe onto this rebar section. From here, if you line up War's head with the point of the shadow, it'll be a pretty reliable way to dash back and make it onto this section of wall. So you want to activate Q mode so you don't target any of the zombies when you hold focus, and then we'll be jumping, holding back, double jumping, and then dashing. We don't want to just jump back at the same time because we'll go too far and actually slide off. So you can just kind of roll from space to S. Like I said, the angle's pretty precise, but if you just kind of use the marker that I showed, it shouldn't be too hard to do. From here, you just turn around, jump onto this wall, and then can dash into the autoscroller. I'll go ahead and put the autoscroller in its own part, since it's a little bit slow.